Welcome to a brief overview of how I've set up my Aqua Suite 2013. This is to control my computer and make sure that it runs quiet all the time. So here we have an overview of, this is a overview page that I set up. Has a number of key metrics that I like to monitor when I'm looking at my computer, and I'll go through each one of the sections individually. First we have my temperature monitoring section right at the top, and we can see that I'm monitoring my, starting from the left going to the right, with my room temperature, case temperature, the radiator temperature, the CPU temperature, and my GTX 670 temperature, which is my graphics card. Now we can see a lot of cool things on these graphs, such as minimums, maximums, averages, and the delta T on the graphs. Moving right along, we have where I monitor the curves. Now these are my fan control curves that I've set up. One of them is to maintain case temperature, and the other one is to control my CPU temperature. And lastly, we have the fan monitoring section of the overview page. Now, if you notice, the pump RPM is coming up as a fan, as my water cooling pump will output a fan RPM signal, and I use this for turning the machine off in case the pump RPM drops below a certain point. Next we have my set of two radiator fans. These are fans attached to the radiator. In this example they're sitting at 715 RPM, which is incredibly low. It's running at 4.3 volts, where standard is 12. So it's running at absolute minimum to keep the fan rotating. Then we have my front fans, which are set to keep the case temperature down, and they're running around at 7.9 volts and at around 65%. Next, this is a page of the sensors that I have. I have two types of sensors. I have actual physical temperature sensors, little wafer type sensors that are inside, and one outside of my computer case. And these give me the room temperature, the ambient case temperature, and I have one in between the radiator fins on my radiator, so to keep an eye on the temperature there. Then below that we have the software temperature sensors, which come from Hardware Monitor, and here we go. Oh, we have a laser pointer. So these come from Hardware Monitor and are software temperature sensors. So this one is my CPU temperature, which is 31 degrees. I've chosen just to use this one core temperature rather than an average of all of the cores. In my CPU, this core seems to run the hottest for whatever design reason. Next we have my graphics card temperature. This is read from the sensor on the graphics card through software, and the sys-tin temperature, which is a basic motherboard system temperature. Next we move on to the curves that I've set up. In setting these curves up, we first select a data source. So for this first curve, we are basing it on the CPU temperature. And so we're using the CPU temperature as our data source, and then based on CPU temperature, what we're outputting to is our radiator fans. So obviously the fans on the radiator will cool the CPU. Next we have the sys10 as a data source controlling the front fans, as this is our system temperature. Thank you for taking the time to have a look at how I've set up my Aquaero 2013. If you have any questions, come find me and we can have a chat.